slug 557. I mean, he's just a guy that when you look at prospect potential, the 20-80 scale, he's someone that comes in with an 80 grade power from the left side potentially. And what I think makes it very interesting is you go to the White Sox on a high AAV deal, on a shorter term deal than what he would have gotten elsewhere if he signed a longer term deal. And it's a perfect situation for him. You go into Chicago, not a lot of pressure, not a lot of expectations. You can transition to life in America, to life in the big leagues. You can develop as a hitter and face big league pitching, and you're guaranteed those consistent at-bats. And if the team's losing, you're not going to have fans screaming, oh, get Murakami out there. Let's have this other option, this other guy play. Let the veteran play. Because that's not the kind of team that they are. They don't have all those stars. They have been one of the worst teams in baseball for the last couple of seasons. So I think this is a really, really good deal, because if you look at his AAV, where it sits at, I mean, you're kind of in the Seiya Suzuki range that he signed with the Cubs 5 years ago. So just 2 guaranteed years. But if he establishes himself and that bat translates, especially the power, because there were a lot of questions about his swing and miss in the zone and the boom or bust and the contact rates. But if he can figure things out, he'll be a free agent before he turns 28. And if he's really good, hey, 2 years from now, Freddie Freeman could sign a new deal with the Dodgers, which I do think he ultimately will. It makes sense for him to do that for sure. But if for whatever reason he doesn't, could first base be an option? Will he develop at third base? Will he develop his infield ability next couple of seasons? Could third base be an option? We know DH is not going to be an option most likely. And I will say that, hey, by that time, maybe you do see Will Smith potentially go to first base. I mean, he's such a great hitter. He's under contract for so many years, signed that 10-year deal at the start of last season. So the season before the previous one. So if he signs that big deal, it just kind of makes you wonder if they want to preserve the bat like they do, and you haven't traded Dalton Rushing, then you look big picture. Could you see Will Smith move to first base and you put Dalton Rushing behind the dish and he's your everyday catcher? I mean, at some point they're going to have to make a decision about Dalton Rushing's future, and if they don't envision a role with him on the field outside of catcher, how are you going to get value from him? And when you do have those number one prospects and you play them and they don't have success, it is like driving a car off the lot, right? Today's price isn't yesterday's price. The value takes a hit. So I think if you want to maximize the value on Dalton Rushing, that's something you consider as well. But it's something fun to think about. I mean, it really is. It's just like, hey, Shohei Ohtani, go enjoy your years in Anaheim, develop. Think of it as your college years, right? Of course, they're big league clubs, but think of it as that, and then you get to your work job, your professional job, your big time job when you come to the Dodgers. So I personally think it's going to be something to monitor. I'm going to pay close attention to how his career plays out, because could go a lot of different ways. I mean, if he does well, I mean, the White Sox really should try to look to develop that. And another thing I think of too, as I try to think of every possible way that's going to impact the Dodgers, because that lineup for the White Sox, you got Kyle Teal, you got Colson Montgomery, you got Miguel Vargas. Shout out to my guy, Miggy Varg. You got Edgar Cuero. You got Luis Robert Jr. So does this increase or decrease the chances of the White Sox potentially trading Luis Robert Jr., which is something that I still think is worth exploring when you look at the contact rates, when you look at the quality of contact when he's right, when you look at his ability to play center field defense at an elite level. There's a lot of things to kind of like from that standpoint. So Munetaka Murakami is not a Dodger. And, wow, so the Dodgers not getting a Japanese superstar potential player. I'm sure that the baseball world is happy about that. We know that they would have had an issue with that because, the Dodgers get everyone. So Murakami to the Chicago White Sox, and that's one more free agent off the board. Now, I'm going to continue to push for Bo Bichette. That was my number 2 free agent this offseason. We already got my number 1 in Edwin Diaz. I still think that Bo Bichette is a name worth considering if you're the Dodgers. I did hear from an agent source that the Dodgers do like Bo Bichette potentially as much or more than Kyle Tucker. I think the Kyle Tucker situation, of course, we've talked about it numerous times, is largely predicated on whether or not he'd be willing to sign a shorter-term deal with opt-outs on a high AAV, which, hey, I think that the Dodgers should always be a part of the conversation if you're ever talking about Kyle Tucker and if you're ever talking about Bo Bichette, because all of this stuff is interconnected in one way or the other. If the Blue Jays sign Bo Bichette, will there be a big contract offer out there for Kyle Tucker? And which team would be willing to sign him? It would be the Mets. Could it be the Yankees? I mean, if he's looking for $400 million, like the reports suggest, his best option could be to sign with the Dodgers, have an elite season, then re-enter the market at $29.30 and sign a 10-year deal for, let's say it's $360 million. Well, if you get 1 year, $40 million with the Dodgers, and you sign a $360 million deal next year, there's your $400 million right there. But if you have a really good year, you can even top that mark if you stay healthy, if you get 30-plus home runs, 20 stolen bases, and you prove to be a key member of a World Series winning club. So let's not forget about that. And I do love the fact that I think you'd get the very best version of Kyle Tucker, considering all of those factors, considering he wants a big deal, considering he wants to win, considering he's trying to lock up a massive, massive deal. You're not getting the, I just got paid. If there's a bruise here and a bruise there, I'm going to miss 30 games. No, this is a guy that would be incentivized to play through things and make sure that he's at his very best. And, hey, there's nothing like a contract year. It can bring the best out of players. Sometimes it can bring out the worst, but more often than not, contract year players are going to be all the way in at a 100% clip. But, all right, let's get to some comments here on a Monday episode. Dodgers Dugout Live. You got Christmas this week. Give me your Dodgers Christmas list. Give me your Dodgers Christmas list. We'll get into that here because I want to hear those. We're going to read those during the 7th inning stretch. Another quick, like I said, my biggest fear in life is you're at a party and someone comes up because they know you like the Dodgers, right? It's either your biggest personality trait. They know you're rocking Dodgers hats. You got a Dodgers license plate frame, maybe a phone case. They know that's your jam. You're a Dodgers person. My biggest fear is someone comes up to you and you're like, hey, have you heard about this and this? And you don't know because I didn't mention it on the show. That keeps me up at night. So I don't want that to happen. So the bit of Dodgers news I have for you today that's tangible outside of the Joe Kelly stuff is the Dodgers did sign Chucky Robinson to a minor league contract. So they signed Chucky Robinson to a minor league contract. He was DFA'd, and then he was outrighted off that 40-man roster just a couple days after joining the Dodgers in his last stint when he was in a single game for the team on September 15th. That was only big league playing time for the 2025 season. The Braves claimed him a week later, and then the Braves outrighted him off their 40-man roster in November. So because he had a previous outright already, he exercised his right to be a free agent, and now he's back with the Dodgers. So remember, Ben Rortvedt not on this team anymore. You look at the depth of the Dodgers at the catcher's spot, and, of course, you have Will Smith, Dalton Rushing, Robinson. He's the only catcher now in the Dodgers organization that has some big league experience. So we'll see. I think the Dodgers could consider bringing in some other catching help, some other big league ready talent just for spring training. Can evaluate different guys. You need some catchers around. So, yeah, that is the Chucky Robinson news. I don't think anyone's saying Dodgers ruined baseball by getting Chucky Robinson. All right? I love me some Chucky. Chucky the movie, too. All right. Let's get to you guys. 7th inning stretch action here. On a Monday, I want your Dodgers Christmas list. That's coming up next on the 7th inning stretch.
The 7th inning stretch.
We've got what's up, Lola Bella? We got D-Mac, the Torta Destroyer, bruh. Give you a little organ for that. We've got Bilal K. If the Dodgers don't already have Scooble on their roster, a post-lockout salary cap likely would make us a team that new rules say are prohibited from signing him. Look, I think that's interesting to think that things are in play considering the salary cap. Andrew Friedman did tell us in Orlando at the winter meetings that that wasn't something that they were necessarily considering as far as their roster construction this offseason, but we'll see. BL Boy, D-Mac, all I want for Christmas is Byron Buxton. We have the prospects wasting away. No excuse for convincing the Twins to change their minds. Look, I do think there is something to be said about making sure that you're maximizing this window for reasons other than just, oh, you want to win. I mean, that is a factor. It's the age of your core, the age of your current talent. And look, the baseball could be really different in a couple years. But I'd be absolutely shocked to see a salary cap in Major League Baseball. And if you are going to see one, it would be after a long lockout, just because that is something that could limit the players in the pockets. And I don't know if you know this, but Major League Baseball, they have by far the strongest player union. Their players union is stronger than the NBA and the NFLs and all these other leagues combined. Like, it is as strong as it possibly gets. I do think that I think the owners should take some baby steps, because you just signed all these big contracts, all these big television deals, and you got some in the works. For you to go into a lockout 1 year after that, especially when your product is as good as it's been in decades with bigger stars than we've had. Like, people say, Shohei Ohtani is the biggest star since Ken Griffey Jr. I love Ken Griffey Jr. He was my favorite player too. Shohei Ohtani is a much bigger star than Ken Griffey Jr. ever was. And that's just because he's that big of a star. I think it's fine. I think it's very hard to find another baseball player that you can compare to Shohei Ohtani. I mean, it's got to be really different, because the media is different than the Babe Ruth era, right? But I just think that his star power, it transcends just the skill level. And other thing, too, about Ken Griffey Jr., that Mariners team never even played in the World Series, and Shohei Ohtani has just won 2, and he's been a big part of both of them. So I think it'd be absolutely criminal for Major League Baseball to take years away from Shohei's prime, Aaron Judge's prime. Look at the World Series we just had, over 50 million viewers. It would just be an absolute disaster for the game, and it would take years to get attendance back, viewership. I mean, it was pretty devastating what happened in the mid-'90s. You basically needed the steroid era to take over, and Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa basically saved baseball, because it was dark for a while. We get Pause Decline WBC. We got Dear Baseball Santa. It's from Sean Klein. B-Bucks, please. Put Edman at second base, because that's, let's be real, that ankle doesn't need to be in center field. I'd be here for that. All I want for, man, I feel like we've all convinced each other Byron Buxton's the guy. Unfortunately, as it stands right now, the Twins don't want to trade him. He has a full no-trade clause, so a lot would have to happen for that to materialize. Only cheapo owners want the cap. Exactly. Bilal K, what up? Enigma 030. Alexander Trade. Hello, D-Mac. What's up? We've got Ellis Jones for Christmas. I want Dodgers to get another dependable bullpen piece. Look, Kyle Fairbanks is still out there. There are some names for sure. It does feel like right now you're kind of looking at some of those internal options, guys you want to develop and see if you can have that depth. Because it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with guys like Gavin Stone and Kyle Hurt. I think not enough people are talking about him. River Ryan, who I'm going to try to get on the show this week. He's throwing gas, and he's something that could be a weapon for this team. Roki Sasaki, get another chance to be a starting pitcher. You still got some depth in that Dodgers system. So you could see some of that. And I think, too, don't sleep on the idea of bringing Evan Phillips back. So Evan Phillips is going to feel like a reacquisition, especially because there have been teams out there that have shown some interest. I personally think that Evan Phillips not being a guy that needs to throw triple digits doesn't need to throw a 102 to be successful and effective. I like Evan Phillips back, throwing that sweeper, that cutter, that slider, being an organization he feels comfortable in. I know he loves it here, and I know that they loved him when he was on the mound. Dodgers also found him really at a time